Welcome to the Friday Main Event Region Preview Show. This is a 5A edition. This is the fifth of six preseason region preview shows we've done, Lee Teat. And this region here, this particular class was one of the more predictable ones, I felt. We had Knoxville Catholic winning last year in our preseason.
We did. I thought Beach coming in might have a little something for them, but
matter of fact, you had them. You did. You had them winning. I remember that.
Yeah.
I had to bring that up, didn't I?
Yeah. But Knox Catholic obviously was the cream of the crop.
They did, and they struggled in a couple of games, particularly Brentwood Academy. I believe they played them, got it handed to them pretty good. But I mean, that's a Division II team powerhouse,
right?
And Knoxville Catholic is going to get a taste of that next year, I believe, Lee, as they go over to Division II. But looking back at the playoffs from last year, Knoxville Catholic entered the playoffs at 7-3, and they wound up beating Campbell County pretty handily. They knocked off a really good Fulton team in the second round, and that led them to a matchup with Oak Ridge, Joe Gaddis' squad.
Right.
And Joe Gaddis' squad, ironically, give them a pretty good game. I think that final was 37-28, Lee Teat. So Catholic marched through the playoffs. A Knox Central team, a rejuvenated Knox Central team, entered the playoffs 5-5. Yeah, I think they were, if I remember correctly, they were the Region 2 4 seed.
That's
entering
right.
the playoffs. Got hot, got on the roll at the right time, run all the way up to the semifinals, but they were knocked off pretty easily, 42-7 by Catholic in the semifinals.
Right.
So Catholic advanced to the state title there. Now, the bottom half of the bracket, like you said, Lee, you thought Beach was going to be there, and they were. Looking back at Beach's run, I think their closest game, Lee, was probably when they matched up against Hillsboro there in the second round. They wound up winning that game 10-3, but other than that,
Summit.
I forgot. They did have a very good game against Summit, and so Coach Coleman over at Summit, another guy's a regular
Right.
on the Friday event. He did have a good squad last year.
Yes, he did.
I did forget that, but Beach, as you expected, did make a run all the way to the title game, and they faced off against Brighton. I think Brighton was the team. Was that the team that bit you in your predictions?
Brighton bit me the whole way through the playoffs. They bit me because they come in 6-4.
Yep.
And I'm looking at Northeast and thinking, man, number 2 seed, they can get them. Well, Northeast gets knocked out in the first round.
Right.
And Brighton just boom, 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 boom. And then they beat Henry County.
Surprised
me again.
Yeah.
So they were my nemesis last year.
They were, Lee Teat. So wound up being Brighton and Beach in the semifinals on that side of the bracket.
I finally got them with Beach.
You did. You had Beach, didn't you?
Yeah, I finally got them
Coach Crabtree, come in there, baby.
He got me.
So Beach wins 21-3 in the semifinal. They go on to face a Knoxville Catholic squad. Wound up losing that game 45-28. Lee Teat, a very distraught Coach Crabtree, and we'll have that interview later. Not real happy with the way things went in that title game. But our buddy Steve Matthews prevails, and as we predicted in the preseason, did get that 5A state title. Their last chance at a Division I state title this year as they move over to Division II next year. So, Lee, that's a recap of last year's playoff run. We're going to go ahead and get straight into our region breakdowns for this coming year, 2018. And in Region 1, you had Daniel Boone winning that region last year, Lee, 8-3 overall, 6-0 in region play. They've got 4 starters back on offense, 7 back on defense. And what you like is they've got a whole lot of senior linemen back this year.
A lot of them. And they got a senior quarterback, Easton Harrell.
Yeah.
Coach Jenkins, was he 85-67?
That's correct.
85-67, went 6-0 last year. A lot of seniors, man.
A lot of seniors. On the defensive side of the ball. They only got 4 starters back on offense. Of course, they did fall in the first round to Knox Central, that team that got hot, the 4 seed we were just talking about. Actually shut them out 16-0. So that was the beginning of that Central run. Moving on down that region, Lee, Tennessee High, the Vikings, Mike Mays squad, 6-5, 4-2. They're knocked out by South Doyle last season, 44-29. but they've got a lot of kids back. 8 back on offense, 6 on defense.
Cade Mitchell, running back, the senior. Ryan Gibson, another senior running back. Wyatt Mullins, offensive line, defensive end, is a senior. Chandler Smith, O-line, senior. Offensive tackle, senior. Jake Holland, O-line, senior. All seniors.
I saw you dodging that Isaac Travette.
Where? Oh, Isaac Travette, offensive line.
I
senior.
figured you was like me. He's like, oh, Lord, I may press.
No.
We mentioned in our 4A school, I got berated on Twitter, Lee. I didn't pronounce the kid's name right.
I wouldn't call it berated.
Not berated, but she was not happy that I did not pronounce her kid's name right. Again, to the listeners, we're doing the best we can. We're covering 300 teams, so if your kid's name is...
Just be happy we're taking
notice.
notice.
Be happy we mention them.
We're taking notice.
We're taking notice. So,
that's right.
I thought you was dodging that one, man.
No, I just skipped over it.
Travette, you going to go with that?
Yeah, Isaac Travette.
I like it. All right.
A lot of seniors.
Tennessee High, the Vikings, you're right, Lee. A lot of kids back, 8 on offense, 6 on defense. They'll be a contender this year. Morristown East, the 3rd seed out of Region 1 last year, 4-7, 4-2 in region play. Not a good overall record. That's some tough out of region games that they didn't come out on the plus side with. 6 starters back on offense, 5 on defense. Jacob Ward, the wide receiver DB, Will Westmoreland at tight end. A couple of kids they're going to be leaning on.
Well, I find it interesting. All 4 of their wins were in region.
Yeah, that's true.
That's good.
A tough non-region schedule.
Non-region schedule.
Or a weak region. Depends on how you want to look at it, I guess. Davy Crockett Lee, man, they went through a lot this year, during the off season as far as coaching and whatnot. Gerald Sensabaugh out. We're not going to get into that whole soap opera there, but he's out. I think he's actually, like I said, I won't get into it. I'm going to leave it alone. Hayden Chanley now, 25 years old. He was a 2011 grad from Crockett, Lee. Is he ready for this?
Well, he must be, because in the coaches poll, they got David Crockett number 2 in that region.
Number 2 in that region.
A 25-year-old head coach. But the reason being, 8 returning starters on offense, 9 returning starters on defense.
Got a lot of kids back.
A lot of kids back.
And led by John Colley, the wide receiver. Micah Robinson, the DB, he's a really solid 2-way player for them, senior. So, like you said, Cade Larkins, quarterback, is a junior this year. So, Lee, they've got some talent back. I think they'll definitely be in the mix for that Region 1 title. Moving on down, Cherokee, I think you told me but when we was prepping for this show, the coaches poll has Cherokee winning this region,
they
correct?
do. Same thing, 8 guys back on O, 9 on D.
And Colin Trent, the quarterback, is back. He's a junior this year. Now, Connor Smith listed as an athlete, also a very good ball player. It's Trey Courtney, the wide receiver. He's a 2-way player. So you're right, Lee. A lot of kids back on both sides of the ball. I couldn't really disagree with putting Cherokee as the winner of this region.
Well, Cody Ball was the offensive coordinator at Greenville.
There you go. That's pretty good coaching
pedigree. Kane Ballard, he knows what he's doing.
Exactly, and that may have a lot to do with that selection, the fact that he did get his training and all his knowledge from one of the best coaches that we know across the state, Kane Ballard. Cock County, the Fighting Cocks, 4-6, Lee Teat, 1-5 in region play. Again, another team with a lot of returning starters. This team, or this region, I guess I should say, very, amazing. I don't know if there's any other region in the state that had this many returning starters as a whole for a region.
Yeah, they're very young.
They got 8 starters back on offense, 6 on defense. Dylan Loveday, a linebacker, John Williams, another linebacker, and then Levi Daniels. If you got 3 linebackers listed as your returning important players, you got to feel pretty good about the defense anyway.
Yeah, and everyone's seniors.
Everyone's seniors, and again, we're getting this information, all the information we have in regard to returning players. We're getting that from our buddy Donovan Stewart. Does a great job. If you'll click on FridayMainEvent.com, our website, FridayMainEvent.com, we've got a tab called Links. You can click on the Links tab, and from there you can navigate to a subscription link for Donovan Stewart. Go in there, click that, subscribe to his material. Everything comes straight to your email, as it does mine, and yours, Lee.
Right.
Donovan does a great job for high school football. Really appreciate what he does. Lee, moving on down that region, rounding that out is volunteer Justin Presley, new head coach there. He was assistant coach at Siegel and Hillsboro, so he also has had some good coaches in front of him. Greg White there at Siegel was one of the guys that had a role in, how this young man developed as a coach.
This team kind of intrigues me with him being the head coach.
I agree. Now, they did finish 0-10, Lee, 0-6, but they've got 6 starters back on both sides of the ball. Be interesting to see what Coach Presley can do with them.
That's right.
All right, Lee, moving on down to Region 2. And Region 2, the headliner for last season anyway, was Knoxville Halls. But ironically, despite the fact they won the region with the 5-1 record, 6-6 overall, they're out of head coach. They got a new head coach. The offensive coordinator at Cleveland, former head coach Davy Crockett, and that's Jeremy Boskin, takes over that program.
Well, he's got 5 players coming back on offense and 6 on defense. And Caden Tollett, the junior quarterback, pretty good ball player. Stanton Hurd, defensive tackle. Warren Morlock, O-lineman.
Sheldon James is listed as an athlete.
That's
I think
right.
he'll be a big hitter on that team as well.
What do you think about this region?
Well, this region right here, to me, Lee, is one of the tougher ones to pick, top to bottom. Sevier County, the Smoky Bears, a lot of rich heritage there. Tony Ligenfelter took over that squad 4 years ago. They've recently had a state title. I believe, didn't they win the? No, they fell to Independence.
They fell to Indy.
Indy.
Two really good quarterbacks went at it
That's
that
correct.
night.
Former quarterback that went to Vanderbilt.
That's right.
His name's escaping me. Was on the
Sevier County side.
Losing side of that one. And but the Smoky Bears League getting back to this season, 7 starters back on offense, 8 on defense. Chris Bohannon, one of those offensive linemen, along with Dalton Mitchell, 2 guys up front expected to be a force for the Smoky Bear team.
Yep, I think Colin Russell's going to be a force to it, wide receiver. He and Braden Hurst, because they like to swing the ball around.
Right. So the Bears, with 15 starters back, Lee, I think they'll be a player in this region. South Doyle, another team, Clark Duncan, a very good coach. Despite the 48-57 record in the last 9 years, his overall record is still very strong. 7-6 last year, 4-2. They did make it all the way to the quarterfinals.
Right.
Lee lost by 1 point to Knox Central.
South Doyle's got a quarterback, a junior named Mason Brang. He went for 2,200 yards last year and 29 total touchdowns as a sophomore.
Wow. Okay.
So I think South Doyle's got a real good shot at this region.
And Tonquez Ball was a receiver, was on the receiving end on a lot of those yards, and he's a very highly recruited kid, very good ball player. So I agree with you. I think South Doyle, the Cherokees, will have a say in this region. Knox Central, the team that we mentioned, Bryson Rozier, and of course they're coming off a state championship a couple of years ago.
That's right.
Over that same Indy squad. 8-6 last year, 3-3, and they got hot at the end of the year. And those are the teams, Lee, you got to watch leading into 2018. He was playing young players. He's got 7 starters back on offense, 6 on defense, and a team that got hot in the playoffs in the postseason last year. They got a taste of winning. That's a team you better watch this year.
That's right.
So I really like what Knox Central's got. I think they're going to be a big player this year, and we'll talk about them more later on, Lee, as we've got them going pretty high. Gibbs, the Eagles, new head coach Brad Turner, 5-5 last year, 3-3 in region play. They've got 5 starters back on both sides of the ball, Lee Teat.
Yep, Zach Myers, Gavin Collins, Maiden Allen, Dalton Wright, Isaiah Brooks. Can they push to the top of the region?
I mean, it's possible. You got, what I like about it is they went internal and brought Brad Turner in, a head coach. He's been a coach there since 2004. He played there. So you always like those type of coaches. They're really they've bought into the system. They're lifers, and I think the Eagles have a good chance with Brad Turner. There should be a lot of continuity between the players coming off of last season. Knox Carter, Vic Wharton is now the head coach there. That's a familiar name.
Yep.
Of course, his son started at UT and he transferred to California, so that's a familiar name for the Tennessee fans. The Hornets 3-8, 2-4. They have 5 starters back on both sides of the ball. Lee Teat.
Garrett Massey and Colin Norton, both senior offensive linemen, and then Kenny Jones is an offensive lineman there as a junior, and then Caleb Doherty, O-line junior, and a real nice tailback. And hold on, you got me there. Kenneth Cox, that's his name.
Yeah, I don't know if they do much again this year. Lee Seymour, the last team in there. Now, that's a familiar name right there. Scott Galen takes over, and he's a former player at Tennessee, played for the Giants, Dolphins in the NFL as a linebacker. So you got to like the mentality that he's going to bring to the program for the Eagles. But 0-10 team, 8 starters back on both sides of the ball. Does Coach Galen make a difference?
Yes. I don't think there'll be an 0-10.
You don't think so?
No, sir. Not with 8-8 coming back.
Right. I agree. So we'll see. That Region 2 is going to be interesting how it plays out. There's a lot of teams that could potentially take that region. Again, a 4th-seeded Knox Central wound up going all the way to quarterfinals, which tells you it's a balanced region. But I like Central. I think Central's going to be the team to beat this year in that region.
Hey, it ain't been very many years ago. 5-5 Livingston Academy won the state title.
There you go.
Coming in as a 4 seed.
There you go. So who knows? All right, Lee, well, that's Region 1 and Region 2. We're going to go ahead and take a break right here. We'll come back on the flip side of this with the Friday main event, a Region 3 breakdown. We'll be back after this.
Mike Molder Friday main event with Coach Steve Matthews. Coach, how's it feel, man?
Feels great. Knowing we're back here, we felt like last year we kind of let one slip away, and just proud of these young men. They've worked extremely hard. This coaching staff has done a great job, and this is something they'll remember forever. And that's just happy for these guys.
Coach, I thought your defense played really well, especially there in the second half. Larry Leverman strips the ball. I thought that was a big turning point for you.
Huge point in the game. And my hat's off to Beach. We had them outsized. They played with a tremendous amount of heart. They're extremely well coached by Coach Crabtree. But LB stripped the ball out there, and he's been a guy. He was 350 pounds last year. He's really worked himself into shape where he could be a good football player, and just the hard work and determination, and for us to be able to return that for a touchdown was huge.
What about the local guy you picked up, 55 Tucker? He's from Shelbyville, right?
Brian Tucker. I actually went to high school with his mother and knew.
I figured that.
And knew his father, and they were looking to go to a private school, and he ended up being at Knoxville Catholic. We're excited to have him. He's only going to continue to get better.
Absolutely. A lot of seniors, Coach. Big senior class. You got a lot of talent coming back?
Well, we're losing 12 seniors, and it's a really good, it's not a lot of them, but it's a good class. There's 7 or 8 that are going on to play college football, probably more when it's all said and done. So they'll definitely be missed. The leadership of Jackson Pratt will definitely be missed.
This show will be Saturday, 4 o'clock on the Dove. Tell Mom hi.
Hello, Mom. Hope you're doing all right.
Thanks, Coach. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, Lee Teat, that was Knox Catholic head coach Steve Matthews, good buddy of ours. We always enjoy having Coach Matthews on with us. Really excited about that title victory last year, no doubt.
He had a loaded team.
He's got one this year, too.
He's got one this year, too.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, Lee, we're ready to move on to Region 3, Oak Ridge. Joe Gaddis, again, another coach that we have, a regular on the Friday main event. 6 starters back on offense, 7 on defense. They did upset Fulton last year and captured that Region 3 title. This year, I don't know. It's going to be tough. But, again, he's got 6 starters back on offense, 7 on defense. So, they're going to be good this year, no doubt.
I think so. He's got tons of skill guys. I think the question for Oak Ridge coming into this season is trench warfare. Do they have enough depth to get through the season down in the trenches?
Right. So among the starters, again, 6 back on offense lead. They've got Jeremy Mitchell back as a linebacker, wide receiver, senior 2-way player for those guys. Kalen Thompson at running back. They got Jordan Graham, a very good running back. You probably remember that name.
Right.
Carice Pendergrass, wide receiver. Isaiah Johnson Terrell Romano, a lot of really good ball players here for this Wildcat
He's
squad.
got tons of skill guys. Tons.
Now looking on down in that region, Lee, Rob Black, good. I love Rob Black. I talk to him. Whether they're in a title game or not, he's always in Cookeville, always making a point to go out of my way and search for Coach Black. Tons of respect for this guy. He's one of the best coaches in the state, hands down. 7 years, he's 78-17 at Fulton. He's got three back-to-back titles. How many coaches have done that?
Not very many.
You can count them on one hand.
The one thing that I like about Coach Black is, like you said, it doesn't matter where he's at when you approach him. He's so personable and just a great guy. Man, Xavier Malone. How'd you like to have him?
He's incredible, man. And we saw, or I didn't see it, but I heard that Fulton had recently had a scrimmage with Greenville. I don't know if you heard about that, but I think it was a one-score game. I'm not sure which way it went, but that tells me all I need to know about this Fulton squad.
That's right.
Because Greenville, last year, despite the fact that they were 4A, I would put them in the top 2 or 3 teams in the entire state.
No
I
doubt.
think you would agree.
Yes, sir.
And they've got everybody back this year. So the fact that Coach Black's Fulton squad with 6 starters back on offense, 7 on defense, 9-3 last year, the fact that they were able to play with Greenville and that game, that scrimmage was essentially a toss-up, tells me the Falcons are going to be stout this year.
They are. Mentioned Malone. He's got 7,000 yards passing for his career already.
I did not know that.
With 71 TDs. And I really like Deshaun Page and Rob Quan Thomas. Fullback linebacker, running back linebacker. They're very, very, very productive on both sides of the ball.
Okay.
And really like those two.
So Xavier, I believe he did start as a freshman, so I guess that's how you account for all that yardage. But I think he's a number 26 recruit in the state, 6'3", 198, a good size for a quarterback, Lee. So
I think he's actually put on some weight. I heard he's around 210 now.
Is that right?
That's right.
That's good, man. I think Fulton. I'm not going to get into it now, but
they're going to be hard to handle.
They're going to be hard to handle, brother, no doubt. Moving on down in that Region 3, Lee, Campbell County, Justin Price, 45 and 32 in 7 years there at Campbell County, and he had a good squad last year, 7-4, 3-3. They fell to Catholic in the first round, 59-21. But I mean, that doesn't take away from the fact that they had a really solid season. 4 starters back on both sides of the ball, Lee.
Well, 3 of his 4 losses were in region.
Tough region.
Tough region. Brandon Dyson, I like him at offensive line. Zach Phillips, another offensive lineman. Jordan Tolliver, offensive line. So looks like he's got plenty of help down in the trenches.
Yeah, I would agree with that, Lee. And I skipped over Knoxville West. I didn't realize that Lamar Brown squad, the Rebels, they were 7-5 last year, 4-2 in region play. They took the third place in that region. They were knocked out by region rival Oak Ridge in the second round, 16-6. But the fact that they were within 10 points of a very good Oak Ridge team tells me West is solid. And what I like about them, Lee, is they're young in the sense that they've got Drew Francis at linebacker. He's a junior. He's the number 12 recruit in the entire state for the 2020 class. Very good player. And then, but despite the fact that he's a good junior, they've got a lot of seniors coming back as well, Lee.
That's right. And they got 9 kids coming back on the defensive side of the ball. So I think Knox West is going to be fine defensively.
Right.
The question will be, can they score enough?
Right. And the 16-6 loss to Oak Ridge tells you the defense was pretty good.
That's right.
If you held Joe Gaddis' squad to 16 points there in the playoffs, like you said, they're going to be good on that side of the ball. Powell made a bit of a comeback last year, 5-5, 2-4 in region play. They've had some hard times, been through a whole lot of coaching changes since Derek Ring was let go there. I want to say that's been 5 years now, something like
Roughly.
that. But they've been through so many different coaches, and this season is no different. Matt Lowe comes in. He coached at Powell from 2006, 2011, finished second in 2011. He really had that program in a good position when Derek Rain took that program over. Not that Derek Rain did anything to diminish how good they were, but once Derek Rain left, that was when the program began to decline. But I'm sure they're tickled to death to get Matt Lowe back over there.
They ought to be. Eli Owens, running back for them. Look for big things out of him. Alvin Stacy's a really good D lineman they have. And what about this guy, Deuce Shreve?
Deuce Shreve.
Deuce Shreve, quarterback and a DB. And then looks like Carson Cole's also.
I like anybody named Deuce. That's just
right.
a cool
That's
football
a
name. It
man.
is. Yeah, I love that. Deuce.
I like Powell because of Deuce.
There you go.
How about that?
I like that. I don't know if they're going to be the Deuce, though. I think they may be the Trace in this.
Well, I like
in
Deuce.
This region.
That's a good football name.
It's a tough region, Lee. I mean, I think Powell's going to be good this year, but with Oak Ridge and Fulton as perennial powerhouses, and West, again, as we mentioned, tough. I think Campbell County may drop off some. So potentially Powell could knock Campbell County out of that 4th spot and make the playoffs. Do you see that happening?
Yes, sir. It's possible.
And then moving on down, Carnes at 4-6, 1-5 in region play. Lee, they've got a really solid receiver in Thomas Harper. He's already committed to Oklahoma, which it tells you if you got a Big 12 program chasing, you got to be pretty good athlete.
Yep. Go right along with him is Daniel Kitts, senior quarterback. And then Harper, running back DB, that's a senior. Trey Hawkins, wide receiver DB. Jalen Tucker. Several juniors on that lineup of the players that they sent to us to look at,
4-6 last year, 1-5. I don't know that they make a big leap. I mean, they've got some good-looking ball players, but again, very tough region.
Right.
Clinton, the Dragons, our buddy Randy McCamey, formerly of Grace Christian, been on the show with us a few times. 91-40 overall. Only 2-8 last year at Clinton. I believe he's a Clinton alum, if I remember correctly, Lee. 7 starters back on both sides of the ball, and this guy can coach.
He can.
He can coach, and if you'll remember, his son was the kid that was airlifted at South Pittsburgh about 4 years ago. I apologize, I can't remember his name. A phenomenal athlete. He wound up going to one of the military academies, Navy, I think it was, and suffered an injury there, and unfortunately passed away from that. But Randy McCamey is a very devout Christian, a very faith-oriented family, and a great guy. We always enjoy having him on, and I think he's the right guy for that program. But I don't know if they got the talent to move up in this region, Lee Teat.
I don't think they do yet.
Yeah.
I don't think they do yet, but they got 7-7 coming back. Definitely look for them to improve on 2-8.
Yeah, no doubt. Lee, we're moving on to Region 4 quickly as we're getting longer and longer in these segments, but we're going to try to speed it up a little bit, folks. Knoxville Catholic, Steve Matthews' team. Not a lot of starters back, only 3 on both sides of the ball, Lee, but wouldn't you love if you was a Tennessee Vols, wouldn't you like to have that offensive line? They got Brian Tucker, who is 6'5", 300 pounds. He is the number 1 recruit in the 2020 class. Only a junior this year. And then they've got another really good junior, Cooper Mays. It's that Mays name is legendary there at Knoxville Catholic. He's the number 14 recruit in that class. So good up front.
They're real good up front. And then they got Jack Jancic at quarterback. Tennessee Vols fans will be familiar. His dad was Coach Jancic. That was one of the coordinators.
Defensive coordinator.
And then Styles Moore, really good tight end, really good.
And I believe Jancic's older brother also played at UT. He was a quarterback at Catholic a couple of years ago. Went on and played at UT. I don't know if he's still on the roster there or not, but they always got athletes there at Catholic.
Right.
That seems to be a school that UT coaches, when they come into the UT program, it seems like they send a lot of their kids over there to Catholic. So I think the Fighting Irish will be stout again this year, Lee. Ray County, and of course that's our buddy Mark Pemberton, another guy we have on the show frequently, one of those great coaching pedigree. He's coached with a lot of guys we know. Jimmy Maynard down there at Cookville, your buddy, he's coached with him. So Mark Pemberton, again, he's got a long history of success here in the state of Tennessee, 210 and 84 overall. He's got 6 kids back on both sides of the ball, Lee Teat. Golden Eagles are going to be really good this year.
One thing that I love about Ray County is Zach Pemberton, 4-year starter, coach's son at quarterback. You know he knows how to run that wing tee. Coaches don't even have to tell him what to do.
Right.
He just goes out there and calls his own stuff.
He's a coach on the field, no doubt, and
Right.
that's always a plus. And we talked about Cade Ballard in the last preview show, being the son of Kane Ballard, and kind of the same thing, maybe not to the level that a Cade Ballard, but nonetheless, a coach's son, very familiar with the offense. You're right, Lee. That'll definitely help them out, along with having Chandler Kaler, the tight end linebacker. They've got Aubrey Smith. They've got Colton Edwards. A lot of talent back for that Ray County Golden Eagle team. I think they'll be good again this year. Lenore City, the Panthers, lead 5-6 last season, 2-2 overall. 6 starters back on offense, 7 on defense.
Gabe Williams, senior quarterback. Cody Clevenger, wide receiver, free safety. Senior Preston Adams, running back, strong safety, senior. Caleb Akins, the tight end linebacker, as a senior.
And Lenore City, the Panthers, Jeff Cortez's squad, Lee, like you said, 5-6, 2-2 last year. I don't know if there's any place for them to move up any higher with Ray County, obviously up ahead of them, along with a very good Catholic squad. So I think their best hope is to get that 3rd seed again.
Right.
Saudi Daisy played Catholic very close last year, Lee. I think they led
sure
that game, the majority of that game. 6-5 last year, 1-3. They fell to Oak Ridge 32-7 in the first round, but Justin Barnes gave Steve Matthews' squad a scare. I remember we interviewed him right after that game, and 4 starters back on offense, 8 on defense. Any scenario where you see Saudi Daisy moving up?
I think they're going to be the 3.
Number 3.
I do. I think them and Lenore City are going to switch this year. I think Saudi Daisy takes the 3 spot.
That's very possible. They've got offensive lineman Shane Brazier back. They've got Hayden Maynard back, Garrett Richardson, wide receiver, Landon Reese at wide receiver. So a lot of good players back, 8 back on that defensive side, so they're going to be good.
That's right.
The Trojans of Saudi Daisy. Walker Valley, the last team in this region, 1-9. Lee Teat, 0-4 in the region. The Mustangs, led by Glenn Ryan. 2 starters back on offense, 7 on defense. I don't know there's any place for them to move up. What's your thoughts?
I don't think there is. They're pretty young. Sophomore running back in Heath Tanksley. We got a sophomore linebacker in Callum Lowe. I like to see young guys getting in, but hey, when you get into the 5 to 6As and you're having to play sophomores,
that's not usually good.
Not usually good.
Right, I agree with you, Lee. Moving on down, Lee, we're going to go ahead and hit Region 5 quickly. And Region 5 is a region of interest to a lot of our listeners. At least when we was on the radio. I guess our listeners are statewide now, so we're no longer local.
We used to have an emphasis
we had an emphasis on this region.
Right.
We'll still emphasize it because we've got a lot of friends in this area here in Middle Tennessee, and we still got a close ties to a lot of these coaches. Brian Coleman, one of those, head coach at Summit. He loves it when we come up there. I think we went up there for 2 games last year. Brian Coleman, good friend of mine and yours, and a good fan of the show. But Lee Teat, Coach Coleman has lost a lot as Tay Carter graduates, and then his quarterback from last season, Ethan Cash, he transferred to Independence. So where are the Spartans going to generate any offense from?
I don't know, man. I don't know if they'll be 10-3 this year. I know last year, they pushed Beach right to the wire in that quarterfinal game.
They did, yes,
but
sir.
They only have 1 returning starter on offense, and I think that's going to be pretty hard for Coach Coleman to overcome.
It is, Lee, and I did that interview with the radio station the other day over in Winchester, and we were talking about this Region 5 being that Franklin County is in this region, but this region is probably more wide open than it's ever been. I think, obviously, with Summit losing so much, Shelbyville lost most of their offense. They've got 3 back. Shelbyville Golden Eagles, led by Justin Palmer, 5-6 last year, 4-2 in region play. Another team that won the games that mattered. They had 4 of their 5 wins within region,
That's right.
which got them that second place. They fell to Hillsboro 47-12. Lee probably at least one of the best quarterbacks in the state in Grayson Trammell from a number standpoint. He set some TSSAA state records last year, especially for single game yardage, and I believe that was actually against Summit. So, with him behind center, you got to figure that, they got a good chance anyway.
I think so. He had 3,800 yards last year, passing 34 TDs. That's pretty big numbers.
Pretty big numbers.
He can sling it. Coach Palmer. The thing with me is he does have 9 returners on defense, and that's always been kind of the Achilles heel to Shelbyville.
That's true.
They could score with anybody, but they couldn't stop anybody. Well, this year they got 9 returners over there. They ought to be able to stop some people.
Agree.
With some experience, and I think he's got plenty of weapons, receivers to throw to. Arias Trice, Mason Wright, Gary Smith, a big offensive line.
He's got a lot of colleges looking
right.
at him, Lee. Gary Smith III. He's a big kid, and, man, he has filled out nicely. He's only a junior, so you got to like that. But I don't know if they can get some guys around. And I wasn't real impressed with the blocking. I actually went and saw Shelbyville in a scrimmage with Clarksville Northeast, and I'm big on Clarksville Northeast. I think they're going to be good this year. But Shelbyville had a ton of time stopping that front four of Clarksville Northeast. So the blocking up front has got to get a lot better if the Shelbyville Golden Eagles are going to make some noise this year. All right, Lee, moving on down to Page. Charles Rathbone, we already know he lost his biggest weapon on offense as Johnson transferred out over to Spring Hill. So with 4 starters back on offense, 7 on defense, 8-4 last year, 4-2. They were the 3 seed. Where do you see Page finishing out this year?
Maybe can they slide to the 2?
Possibly, because Shelbyville, there's a lot of question marks, and Summit as well. That's what I say,
it's
Lee.
Wide open.
This region is wide open.
It is. I like Coach Rathbone, though.
I do. Coach Rathbone's a very good coach. Again,
and I tell you what he has over there, and this is, I'm not saying this bad about any other school, but he has a lot of high IQ kids.
Right.
Over in that area.
That's a good point.
Very high
Williamson
IQ kids.
County, right.
Smart kids. And I think Coach Rathbone uses that to his advantage sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to be said for that, Lee, no doubt. But with 4 starters back on offense, 7 on defense, Cade Walker at quarterback, Michael Burdick at wide receiver. You got Luke Bowers at running back, Ian Smith, offensive lineman, senior. He'll be expected to lead that offensive line. So who knows, man? Like you said, this region is wide open. Looking at Lincoln County, the Falcons, they got a new head coach, Tim Johnson. I think that was a good hire.
Great hire. Great hire.
Yeah, first season at Lincoln County. He's been at BGA. He's been at Giles. He's been at Franklin. Played at Lincoln County. I think he was on. I believe he was on one of those state title teams, if I remember right. The Falcons at 3-7, 2-4 last year. Lee, I don't know. That they could potentially be good, or they could potentially be really bad. It's just I don't know. I'm not sure where they're at.
I think that's a very good hire. I just don't think they're ready yet to progress.
I don't think they are either, Lee. And I think Fayette and Kelly Holcomb, he loves to harp on this, being a Lincoln County alumni. I think the fact that they opened that Fayetteville City School over there has really, really hurt that Falcon program. I don't know that they've got enough kids there in Fayetteville to support 2 good teams. And
right.
Ironically, like Brandon Moore, a lot of the good talent is getting filtered over to Fayetteville, and that's hurt Lincoln County's program as a whole. But Tim Johnson, being an alumnus and having the pedigree he's got with all the schools he's been at, he may be able to bring some of those kids back to Lincoln County.
And with Coach Palmer retiring after this year.
That's right.
So
Lincoln County, I don't know that it's going to be this year, but I think they do improve. Franklin County, Mac McCurry's team, Lee, and I love Coach McCurry, man. I've never had any coach at any school that I've visited that treated me better than Mac McCurry. He carried me into his office, carried me into their training room, he carried me to the practice field, carried me all over the campus, showed me around, and made me really feel at home. He carried me, he introduced me to his players. Great guy, man. I really enjoyed my visit over at Franklin County.
I think Franklin County might slip to that might get into that 4 spot.
Lee, I think they might. I think they might get in that 2nd spot.
Really?
Yeah, I do.
I think it'll be Franklin County and Columbia Central, right in that 4-3 spots.
Right. And we have
one of them.
We got to jump back up and talk about Columbia. I skipped over them, but 4 starters back on both sides of the ball. Nayland Jeans, quarterback sophomore, he transferred in from Lincoln County.
That's right.
Lee Teat, and I think with Sam, I think Sam Melton is there. No, what? Yeah, Sam Melton. That's correct. Comes in as offensive coordinator, and then brought that kid with him. Well, I say he came. I will say he brought him.
Right.
That might insinuate some recruiting. I don't want to go there.
Yeah.
I don't want to go there. But at any rate, this kid comes over from Lincoln County. And with Sam Melton is known to be very, very good offensive-minded coach. And that's what I like about Matt McCurry. He's got a new defensive coordinator. He goes in and he gets everywhere he's always been. He's always had a really good staff, and that's one thing he's good about. He recognizes that you got to have a good staff to be successful, and he's done a good job there. But what I was getting at, Lee, is they've had really good middle school teams. They've had a really good freshman team last year, I think. Coach McCurry said they either went undefeated or have 1 loss. So if they don't do it this year, they're another team. Look next year for them to definitely be a favorite for the region title.
Yeah.
White County, the last team in that region, Lee, and Jerry Lauer's team, 0-10, 0-6, 3-17 in 2 years. They're just not a good program right now.
No.
I mean, that's the only way you can say it. They've got
They're not.
they're just not very good. I mean, look at the numbers. They just got killed last year. Alan Shoup at running back. They got 6 starters back on offense, 5 on defense, but I don't think they're going to contend this year. Do you?
No, sir.
So anyway, Lee, that's a good rundown of Region 5. We're going to take a break right here. We're going to let you guys listen to Anthony Crabtree, head coach of Beach High School, after he was a runner-up finish there in Cookeville last year. It's Friday main event, Mike Molder and Lee Teat, and we'll be back right after that interview.
Mike Molder, Friday main event. Coach Crabtree, a tough loss for you guys.
Yeah, lost to a good football team. Proud of our guys, won 14 games, played their tail off to get here tonight. We didn't play particularly well early. Missed some tackles that we probably should have made. Offense, put our defense in a bind field position-wise throughout the game 2 or 3 or 4 different times. And we just never could get off the field on 3rd down. And that really hurt us.
And Coach, you got down 24-7 early, scored toward the end of the first half, come out, score again, opening kickoff. What adjustments in the locker room did you make?
Well, we just kind of tweaked some blocking schemes a little bit, and talked to our kids about keeping their head up and, keep giving effort, keep playing hard, and let's just try to fix some of the mistakes that we made in the first half. So we got the game 24-21, and then I think we got a pretty bad call. They gave them the ball on what they call was a fumble, but I think our quarterback was down. And, that really flipped the momentum of the game, and it just kind of got out of hand after that.
Coach, 42 last game. How special was it to experience this with your son?
Well, it was awesome. It's been a great year. He's had a good career at Beach. It's been a lot of fun coaching him. And, what can you say when you get to this point and you get to coach your son? He gets to play in a state championship game, and, you have the opportunity to coach him while he's doing it. It's just a great memory.
Coach, you guys had an awesome year. Hope to see you back next year.
I appreciate it. I'm proud of these seniors, again, for all the effort and hard work that they've put into getting here. Just wish the result could have been a little different.
Yes, sir. Good luck, Coach.
All right, Lee, we're back. That was Beach head coach Anthony Crabtree, and you could tell by the interview he was not real happy with how things went, but he was very proud of his team. And Beach, good team, good solid team. I think if they'd been up against anybody other than Catholic, they probably would have had a state title last year.
I believe so. Coach Crabtree's one of the best in the game.
Lee, when we went to break there, you reminded me, and unfortunately I failed to do it, but our buddy Jason Hoth there at Columbia, I failed to talk about his team, and I did that on purpose, ironically, but then I didn't jump. I meant to jump back up to Columbia because I think the Columbia Lions with Darian Davis at quarterback, returning at quarterback, I think they've got a real good chance at capturing that Region 5 title this year. They were 7-4 last year, 3-3. we were at the Summit Columbia game, very impressed with it, with Coach Hoth, and he's always got a really good off-season program, a weight training program, and despite the fact they only got 2 back on offense, 5 on defense, Darian Davis is a real deal, man. We got to see him up close and live last year, and I think they got a good chance with him leading the way.
Well, one thing that I like about Coach Hoth, he's 7-14 in 2 years, but he had 7 wins last year. That means he went 0-10.
Yes.
His first year there, and he turns it around and gets 7 wins his next year. Now, the one question mark that I have with Columbia is they only return 2 guys on offense, but the 2 they do return are Darian Davis and Dontavius Brown.
Two solid players.
Solid players, and he's got 5 returners on defense. But I like the fact that Coach Hoth went from an 0-10 team to a 7-14 in
he's
1
a good
year.
Coach. He was at Mount Pleasant, head coach at Mount Pleasant, did a good job down there.
They got a lot of athletes in Columbia.
They do, and he came back under Howard Stone, defense coordinator there under Howard Stone, and he had previously been at Columbia. So he's a very good coach. And I think that he's got a good chance of possibly capturing the Region 5 title.
It's wide
this
open.
year. It's wide open.
That 5-5A is wide open.
So, again, sorry, Coach Hoth, I didn't mean to leave you out of our run down there. We were planning on jumping back up to you, and I got ahead of myself, and it is what it is. But anyway, Columbia, watch them, man. The lines are going to be good. Lee, going back down to Region 6, picking back up on it, Beach. We just talked about Coach Crabtree. It seems like every year Beach has very small amount of returning starters. They have, they play primarily seniors every year. I guess
Coach
that's how
Coach Crabtree, he likes those senior
oriented.
guys.
Yeah, that makes sense, and it probably accounts for all that success he's had. It's not that these kids aren't getting a lot of playing time, but they're listed as they're not listed as starters, Lee, so you don't get the returning player numbers, despite the fact a lot of these kids got significant playing time. So for that reason, you would look at that on the surface and you say only 3 starters back on both sides of the ball. Oh, the sky's falling for Beach. But it's not that case. Coach Crabtree does a really good job of that program. Aaron Fox at running back, Josh Cole at quarterback, Davis Ward at tight end, Hayden Sloan. A lot of these kids may not have been starters last year, and some of those kids were, but what I'm getting at, Lee, is even though they don't have a lot of starters back, they got a lot of kids with playing time back.
Well, and another thing, too, when you get into those 5 and 6A schools, they're dressing some of them 80 players or more.
True. Right.
Well, there's not but 22 spots out there.
Exactly.
And so you have to pay your dues. And most of the time, you're blessed if you can get on the field as a junior in some of these bigger programs.
That's
so
true.
The 3 and 3 sometimes I think is a little misleading.
It is.
As far as your starters go.
Right.
But Coach Crabtree, I'm going to tell you what, one of the best in the business.
Every year.
He is solid.
And, of course, Jalen Hurd, I guess the most renowned alum out of Beach. Man, I saw that kid in a title game against Columbia a few years back, and, oh, my Lord, I still give Howard Stone a hard time about I think he had over 340 yards or something.
They're still trying to tackle him.
They're still trying to tackle him. But, Coach Crabtree's been in the title game several times and has won a couple of titles. So I think they're going to be good, solid team again here in Region 6. Gallatin, Mark Williams, another friend of the show. We had him on with us, Matt Williams' brother. 7-4, 4-1 last year. They lost to Page in overtime there in the first round, 27-21. Lee, 4 starters back on offense, 3 on defense. They lost some key players though.
Oh, they did. And I tell you what, I kind of looking at this region, I got Gallatin maybe at the 3 spot.
Yeah.
In the region,
yeah.
I like actually Hillsboro and Beach 1 or 2.
I like
flip-flop them.
I like Hillsboro a lot.
Hillsboro at 1.
Yeah, I do have Hillsboro at 1 in this region, Lee, and the reason why is they were right there with Beach last year, and I think the fact that they were, I think it was 10-3. I believe we said in the opening segment 10-3 there in the second round. They fell to Beach. They played Beach with 1 score both games last year when they met them. They've got 6 starters back on both sides of the ball. A lot of talent, Lee.
Tons of talent. They got Madison, athlete, senior, 6 foot, 170 pounds, number 30 recruit. Joseph Honeysucker, defensive end. Senior, 6'2", 217, number 32 recruit. Hillsboro, I'm going to tell you something else, man. Coach Fitzgerald, that guy's good.
Yeah.
Coach Crabtree and Coach Fitzgerald in the same region. That's two of the best going at it every year.
And I think those two will be competing for this region title again this year, Lee. Hillwood, the Hilltoppers, Kurt Page's squad, 3-8, 2-3. They were fourth place. They took the fourth place in this region last year with that 3-7 record. 42-7. They got thumped by Summit in the first round. He got 6 starters back on both sides of the ball. Eric Kennard, Avery Bass, Chris Baines, of some of the names. I don't think Hillwood's going to move up any higher, Lee, in this region.
I don't think so either. This region's kind of weird, man. The top 3 teams are very, very competitive, and the bottom 3 teams, they're just not real good. Hunters
Lane and Glencliff, the last 2 teams in this region, 1-9. Both teams. Hunters Lane got their only win over Glencliff. Hunters Lane with 6 starters back on both sides of the ball. Glencliff with 5 on offense, 4 on defense. Lee, I don't think these 2 teams advance any above where they finished last year.
I don't either.
We're going to move on to Region 7, Henry County, the Patriots, James Counts Juniors team. 9-4 last year, 6-0. A lot of people have got them picked really high, Lee. I think they're going to be really good, but I think Chad Watson, I met him down there in Shelbyville, a really good young coach, 7-4 in his first year there at Clarksville Northeast. He's got a lot of talent there.
I like Clarksville Northeast to win this region. And Coach Watson, I've known his dad for a very long time. They're actually from Gordonsville. And Coach Watson, he played a few years at Gordonsville, and then he went to Macon County when they had a big, deep semifinal run up there. A very bright guy, but, man, he's loaded in Clarksville.
Got his starting quarterback back, Heath Williams, 2,372 passing yards, 29 TDs. Tariq Freeman, running back, 1,098 yards. And then they had some transfers in that are going to help them a lot. Lee Teat, Fred Orr, 2-time region, all-region. He's a running back, like I said, from Rossview, 1,420 yards, 21 TDs. Is there going to be enough balls to spread it around up there? A lot of talent there on the offense side of the ball.
There is. I tell you, somebody else, that Jimmy Wendell, offensive lineman, he's got 6'4", 265 pounds. And then the Devin Dillahay, wide receiver linebacker, he's a true, legit 4'5", 40 guy. He makes most of his impact on the defensive side of the ball. He had 144 tackles last year.
I saw him in the scrimmage, Lee. He's a good-looking ball player. And, of course, 7 starters back on offense, 9 on defense. And we started talking about Henry County, and we kind of got off course. But Henry County, the Patriots with 5 starters back on offense, 9 on defense. I think Coach Counts' team is going to be really good. That's going to be a heck of a battle when those 2 teams compete there in the region.
Henry County's tradition too, man. They're always solid every year. James Counts, always solid teams.
And he took over for his dad.
That's right.
This is his fourth
year.
25-12. Lee, they got to the quarterfinals, fell to that Brighton team that had your number last year, 34-31. But they've got Drew James back on the offensive line, Nick Metzinger, am I saying that correctly, Lee?
Metzinger, yes, sir.
Metzinger and Donovan Teague at fullback. So you've got a couple of really good offensive linemen leading the way up there. They did lose a lot of offensive weapons with only 5 back, but with 9 back on defense, you got to really like the Patriots, I think. That's going to be a good contest between those 2 ball teams. Moving on down, Lee, Clarksville, that's Isaac Shelby. I think Isaac Shelby, alum there, has been at that program now for 4 years. He was at Northwest, is that correct? He was at Northeast or Northwest one. I'm sorry I didn't look that up. But he came over. He had I'm going to get myself in trouble here because I can't remember the kid's name. Linebacker for Tennessee.
Oh, yeah. Jalen Reeves, Maven.
Yes, that was his quarterback, and then he went over to Clarksville. Thank you, Lee. I'm the world's worst on names, as we know. But at any rate, he's got 7 starters back on offense, 8 on defense. If he's going to do anything, Lee Teat has got to be this year. He's 5-6 last year, 3-3. He's got a really good offensive lineman, defensive lineman, Jason Eaton. He's a 2020 graduate class, a junior class, number 18 recruit in the state. He'll be leading the way up front.
That's right. And then Jacob Tuberville's another offensive guard, defensive end that he's got up front. Blake Hundley, a junior offensive guard, D tackle. So I think his offensive line is going to be fine.
Yeah, I would agree. But Isaac Shelby, a good coach. I follow him on Twitter. I kind of keep up with what they're doing up there. But I think the Wildcats, they're expecting to get in that top 2 this year. And they got a good shot with what they got coming back. Dyer County, the Choctaws, David Whittle, head coach, 10-11 in 2 years, 5-6 last year. Lee Teat, DC, Dyer County moving up potentially above that 4th place finish they had last year.
No, I think they're a 4 spot.
You got them there again.
I think they're a 4.
Well, I don't know if they're a 4 because you've got a couple of teams down below them. One of them being Whites Creek, the Coyotes were 5-5, 2-4 in region play. They've got 5 starters back on offense, 2 on defense, and then you got Clarksville Northwest, the Vikings, 6-6, 6 starters back on both sides of the ball. I don't know that either one of those teams move up as well, Lee.
Right.
I'd say that's probably about the way that region's going to play out. Quickly, let's move down to Region 8, Lee. You got 8 teams. This is a really big region. You got 2 new coaches in this region. Brighton, the team that won the region last year, 9-5, 6-1. They did fall to Beach in the semifinals. 3 starters back on offense, 5 on defense. Nick Johnson is back at quarterback, senior. James Carson at wide receiver. What do you think about the Cardinals? You going to pick them this year?
No. I think they're mid-pack in this region.
Mid-pack.
They went 6-1 last year. I think they're mid-pack this year.
I actually agree with you, Lee. Munford finished up second in that region. They fell to Henry County in the second round, 42-7. Nick Markle, head coach there, is 14-8 in 2 years, 9-3 last year, 5-2 in region play. They've got Noah Robertson back at running back, Jashawn Adele, the linebacker senior. So Munford probably going to be in the mix. These west side regions are hard for you and I to read. Not a lot of exposure, but Lee, one team I know that's going to be good is South Wind with 6 starters back on offense, 7 on defense, and they've got the number 14 recruit in the state and Christian Williams leading the way.
Right. I fully expect them to be 3 seed maybe, right in that range. Could possibly get a 2 depending on how Ridgeway does.
Right.
But I'll tell you what, man, Christian Williams is a real deal, the offensive lineman.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. Like I said, the number 14 recruit in the state, he's definitely one to reckon with, and he's got big Ramon Slocum right beside him on that offensive line. He's got Joshua Bean on that offensive line.
William Knox
on it. I mean, you got a lot of senior offensive linemen, Lee, and you and I, we love that in a returning squad. So South Wind, I think, is going to be really good. They lost a couple of really close games to Brighton last year. As a matter of fact, Lee, they scored 98 points. I bet this has never been done. Scored 98 points in 2 losses to Brighton last year. They lost 69-50 the first time they played. They lost 49-48 in the second contest.
So what you're saying is they can score points, but they couldn't stop anybody.
They could score a buttload of points. Yeah, I don't know. But I think they're going to be good again this year. Like I said, they got 13 starters back, so I really like the Jaguars. Ridgeway, team you just mentioned, and I think Deron Sutton is a very underrated coach. 70-29 in 8 years there at Ridgeway. The Roadrunners 5-6, 5-2 last year. They did finish 4th. They had to face Henry County in the first round, but I think Ridgeway is going to be good this year.
I do too. They're very senior heavy. They got to get it done this year.
And a lot of senior old linemen. They got Quentin Casey at quarterback, Cameron Sneed the running back. And, I think Ridgeway is going to be tough. And Ron Sutton, he's going to have them ready to play. Lee, again, like I said, man, this is a huge region. Looking on that, you got Kirby, missed the playoffs, 6-4, 4-3, missed the playoffs. They've got 9 starters back on offense. They've got 8 on defense. Lee, they've got a kid that's already committed to Louisville at quarterback in Jaden Johnson. What do you think about the Cougars?
He's a 4-star. That means he's pretty doggone good.
He's really good. And again, 9 starters back on offense, 8 on defense.
I got Kirby winning this.
6 and that's what
Region 8 5.
Did I just talk you into it, or did you already have it?
No, I already have.
Be honest now.
Yeah. And I tell you why, Marshawn Douglas.
Marshawn Douglas, the running back.
He ran a 10-5-100. He had 1,550 yards rushing last year. Averages about 12 yards a carry.
Well, Jeff Tuck running 9.9. Did you know that?
Yeah, maybe. I know their O-line is real good. Kirby's offensive line is good. Their defense is going to be lights out. Kirby could make some waves in 5A out of the West.
Yeah, I think so, Lee. I like them as well, and we'll talk about them more later in the next segment. Bolton, the Wildcats, 2-8, 2-5. 2 starters back on offense, 3 on defense. Ryan Bevel, the quarterback, is back as a senior. Kingsbury, the Falcons, Quentin Jones, the new coach, and Bolton. I failed to mention Brandon. Help me out with that one, Lee.
Usury.
All right, I'll go with that. Again, I'm not the name guy. He's the name guy. So if we mess names up, it's him.
Oh.
But Usury, offensive coordinator at Houston the last 3 years. He takes over at Bolton. Kingsbury, you've got Quentin Jones, offensive coordinator at Cordova. Only 26 years old now, a head coach, Lee, for a 5A program. We'll see how that works out. 0-10 last year, 0-7 in region play. 5 starters back on both sides of the ball. Cordarius Thomas at quarterback for them as senior. Lee, last team in this region was Memphis Overton. Well, they weren't the last place finished team, but the last time we're mentioning the Wolverines. Edgar Williams, 4-16 in 2 years, 1-9 overall, 1-6 in region play. 6 starters back on offense, 4 on defense.
That's a big region.
8 teams. And there's a big discrepancy top to bottom.
Big.
The bottom 4 teams, I expect to stay as the bottom 4 teams, with maybe the exception of Kirby, as we mentioned. I think Kirby's going to be the team that makes the biggest turnaround. All right, Lee Teat, that's regions 1 through 8, our rundown of them. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that portion of the program, and the entire program being brought to you by our good buddy Coach T at CoachT.com. Appreciate his sponsorship of the show and appreciate our alignment with him. I think that's going to be good for both of us. So Coach T, good friend of ours and good friend of the show. We're going to go ahead and give you a little rundown about Coach T, and we'll be back right after this.
Okay, folks, if you're watching this video, you're obviously a big high school football fan like us. When Lee and I started this channel up, one of the first guys we felt we needed to reach out to and try to join us in this venture was Jim Thompson. I know most of you guys know him as Coach T. Jim was a visionary. He knew back in 1998 the internet was going to continue to grow, and he started his website, CoachT.com, at that time. Now, his commitment to high school sports has provided one of the best sources for information and entertainment across the state when it's involving high school sports in general. I know I became a member back in 2007, and I'm closing in on 10,000 posts now on the website. So I strongly urge you guys to visit this website. Once you see what the website has to offer and you fall in love with it like I have, you're going to want to look at the Coach T Plus membership. That's only $24 a year, and if you break that down, I think it works out to 46 cents a week. I mean, you can't even get a pack of gum for that now. So a lot of things, a lot of advantages to being a Plus member. One, obviously, you lose the annoying pop-up ads. They're gone once you become a Plus member, and you get access to some restricted boards. Other non-paying members don't have access to these boards, so you got a lot more access to the website. One of my favorite features is you have the ability to edit and correct schedules. So if your high school team has a game incorrectly posted, has a score incorrectly posted, you're allowed as a Plus member to go in and correct that. So a lot of things about being a Plus member that you'll enjoy. So I strongly urge you to look into that. Lee and I, again, we love Coach T, and we appreciate everything that he does for high school sports.
All right, we're back, Lee, and again, Coach T. We appreciate the heck out of Jim Thompson. He's aligned himself with us. We're very grateful for that. Hadn't fired us yet. We're in the 5th episode of this, and we're still working with Coach T. So I guess we're doing okay.
Yeah, we're doing good.
So we're happy with our affiliation with Coach T. Glad he's on with us. Lee, it's time for the top 10 Class 5A, and we pat ourselves on the back. We nailed this class again last year. We had Knoxville Catholic in our preseason. So who gets that prestigious spot in this year's Class 5? And 5A is a tough class to pick.
Very tough.
There's not a Greenville in this class. There's no team in Class 5A, in my opinion, that really sticks out as a perennial number one. So with that said, our Friday main event, top 10, we'll go with that. And we're going to start, Lee, with 4 teams we got just outside our top 10. One of those teams that we talked about them in depth, Knoxville West. The Rebels under Lamar Brown have done a really good job. Of course, he was 7-5 in his first year at West, but I think they improved this year, Lee, and I like what West has done.
Well, they're a good team in a great region.
Yeah, and that may be the problem.
Yep, but that's another reason we got them hovering around that top 10, because they are a good team in a great region.
Fulton and Oak Ridge in that region as well, and it's kind of like we were talking about Sullivan South in the earlier show, being in with Greenville and Elizabethton. Despite the fact that West is in a tough region, they probably would be, we would pick them a lot higher were they not in that tough region.
Right, and I like Drew Francis, that linebacker, number 12 recruit.
Yeah, he's a baller, no doubt. Another team, Lee, we've got just outside our top 10, right down the road here, the Shelbyville Golden Eagles, Justin Palmer squad. And I would probably, based on the fact they got Grayson Trammell back at quarterback, I probably would pick them a little higher, but they've only got 3 offensive starters back, so I don't know if they're going to be able to fill some of those gaps coming off of last season or not.
Well, we discussed this earlier in the 5A show. Shelbyville's problem's always been stopping somebody.
True.
They can score with anybody.
True.
Grayson Trammell can throw a ball. They got 9 returning starters, so hey, I think they're in a good spot right around hovering around this top 10.
Yeah, the defense, like you said, Lee, the defense gave up 35 points a game. If you throw out that White County, the offense scored 34 points, which does the 5-6 record. They were right at 500. But I think, like you just mentioned, the defense having a year more experience, they should do a better job, I think, this year for the Golden Eagles. And Lee, another team we just got through talking about, Kirby. I know you like them to win that Region 8. I'm still not totally convinced. I mean, they got everything lined up. 6-4 last year, missed the playoffs, but like we talked about, with 17 starters back, including a 4-star Jaden Johnson Louisville commitment, you're probably going to wind up being correct, I think, in that pick. But we're going to go with them slightly outside the top 10.
Slightly.
South Doyle, the Cherokees, Clark Duncan's team, 7-6 last year, 4-2. Another team that got hot there toward the end of the season, entered the season, entered the postseason at 5-5. They were able to get all the way to the quarterfinals, lost by 1 point to Knox Central. 6 starters back on offense, 5 on defense. I like the Cherokees.
Man, they're just stuck over there in the east side of the state.
Yeah.
The biggest matchup is going to be Knox Central on October the 19th, and that may decide Region 2.
It very well could, and again, that was a 1-point loss in the quarterfinals last year, so that'd be a good game to take in, I think.
Yeah,
Lee.
I think so.
Ridgeway, the Region 8 team, and I know you and I are a little we're kind of going opposite ways on this one. I like Ridgeway in Region 8, and, of course, you've got Kirby, but I think that'll be a good battle right there. 2 very good teams. Matter of fact, I think that's probably going to be a key game for Ridgeway when they match up against Kirby. They've got 7 starters back on offense, 6 on defense, and Deron Sutton, as we talked about,
right.
I think he may be the difference in it.
August 31st, that'd be a good ball game to watch if you're down in the Memphis area, to go check that Kirby Ridgeway game out.
Yeah.
That'll be a lot of fireworks.
Probably the region title on the
State.
line. Good chance. I'm not dismissing Southwind. I think Southwind's also going to be a very good team in that region.
Right.
Beach, Lee, we've got them at number 9. I know that's a big drop off from state, state finals all the way down to number 9 or top 10. But with 3 starters back on both sides of the ball, usually Coach Crabtree has somebody to step up and fill those spots, but I don't know. I've heard they've struggled in some scrimmages this year. I think this is going to be a Beach team, Lee, that if you're going to get them early.
You better get them now.
Yeah, you better get them now. Think toward the end of the year, that's going to be a team you don't want to see. But for right now, we got them at number 9. I mean, we still got much respect for the program, but with that many kids losing that many starters, you gotta put them down a little lower. I think.
Right, I agree.
Henry County, another team, the Patriots. We liked them. They lost to Brighton 34-31, but a lot of starters back on defense for Coach Counts. I like the Patriots.
I do too. You know, it's going to be an interesting matchup. Beach and Henry County in week 2 playing at Austin Peay.
That will be a good
That's
game.
going to tell you a lot because we got them at 8 and 9. That's going to tell you a lot about them programs.
That's going to tell you whether or not we're pretty accurate with our predictions, isn't
we're
it,
going
Lee?
to see.
And that's not a region game.
Out of region.
That's an out of region game, but that's going to be an interesting matchup. That'll be a good experience for those kids to go play on a college campus. Lee, we've got Ray County, Mark Pemberton's team, Golden Eagles. We got them at number 7. I think that's a little bit lower than what our buddy Donovan Stewart has them at. 6 starters back on both sides of the ball. I can see Ray County doing a little better than that, but they're in a really tough Region 4 over there. So I don't know. It's going to be a battle. They got knocked out by West 15-13 in that first round, and it seems to be a theme with Ray County. They lose in the postseason to opponents you don't think they're going to lose, and that's one reason why we've dropped them down a little bit. You're going to have to produce more in the postseason to finish high in the Friday main event top 10.
Dangerous game for them, Saudi Daisy, on the 12th of October.
Yeah, I agree. Saudi Daisy almost knocked off Knox Catholic last year, as you mentioned, Lee, and so yeah, that'll definitely be a big game to watch for the Golden Eagles. Knoxville Central, I've got them all the way up at number 6, Lee Teat, and they were in the semifinals last year against this Knox Catholic team. We're talking about 8-6, but like we mentioned in the region rundown, Lee, why I like them is they got hot at the right time of the year. They entered the playoffs 5-5. They get on a run, 3 in a row, make it to the semifinals as a 4th seed out of Region 2. And I always look at teams like that with the decent amount of starters coming back that got hot in the previous postseason.
Well, I think a lot of people probably don't even have Knox Central where we have them.
No, they don't even have them in their top 10 from what I've seen.
But the logic and the reasoning you're using I like, because they go into the playoffs last year at 5-5 with a bunch of young kids standing over there on the sideline, and they get all the way to the semifinals. What does that tell them kids? Well, it doesn't matter the record as long as we get to the playoffs.
Right.
And they're just still now, they're stillized or hardened to that.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually like that.
Well, good. I appreciate you endorsing my pick there.
I like that pick.
You didn't like it too much because you wanted me to slide the Clarksville Northeast Eagles up above them. I had them at 6, but I agree with you. That's probably too low, especially given the amount of talent he's got coming back. Coach Watson and the transfer, Fred Orr coming in from Rossview. A lot of offensive power for the Eagles this year.
Yep, big ball game on October the 19th. They host Henry County.
That'll be for the region title, I would say.
So. And they're good that they're hosting it.
They're hosting. They got it because Henry County is a tough place to go play.
Very tough.
So yeah, that's definitely an advantage for the Eagles of Clarksville Northeast getting that game at home. So we like them at number 5, Lee Teat. Moving up to number 4, we got our good buddy Joe Gaddis, the Oak Ridge Wildcats. 6 starters back on offense, 7 on defense. Knox Catholic. In Region 4, they need to avoid them for as long as they can. That's going to be key to how far they get, because Catholic's going to be a big hurdle. I mean, you got Fulton in region you got to get past, and then you got Catholic, which you're going to match up with in the postseason. So, if Oak Ridge doesn't win the region, and I don't think they will, I really like Fulton this year. So possibly they see Catholic in the second round this year, and that may derail the Wildcats in postseason play.
Yeah, but that doesn't take away from how good they are, because those two teams you just talked about are we're about to talk.
We haven't mentioned them yet, have we?
That's right. So that tells you a lot about Coach Gaddis's team if we're putting them in there with those two in that conversation.
Right. And at number 3, Lee, I can guarantee you nobody's got this team this high, but this is probably indictment as to how much respect we have for head coach Maurice Fitzgerald. We got the Hillsboro Burros, a team that was so close to getting there last year. They had a couple of close runs with Beach, the team that played Beach the closest all year long, and he's got 6 starters back on both sides of the ball. He's got some all-state kids. He's got some top 35 recruits on that team. I like the Burros.
I do too. Coach Fitzgerald, he won back-to-back state titles at Pearl-Cohn in 96 and 97. Big ball game is a region opener, August the 31st at Gallatin.
It will. I agree with that. I think they narrowly won that game last year, 16-14, I think it was, Lee. So that will kind of set the tone, I think, for Hillsboro this season if they can get ahead of Gallatin and get off to a good start. Lee, we've got maybe a bit of a surprise here at 1 and 2. The defending state champs, Knoxville Catholic. Most people, I think, have got them as a favorite heading in. We've got them at number 2. Our buddy Steve Matthews, only 3 starters back on both sides of the ball. They lost a lot of skill players from last year. Still really good up front, but I don't know what they're going to be able to do, early on in the season while the younger kids are developing. I get it. You don't like that pick.
No, I do. Coach Matthews is an offensive-minded guy. With Bryn Tucker and Cooper Mays, he's got plenty of offensive line firepower. Enough to get him to that 2 spot, I think.
Right.
But I just can't see him taking Fulton.
I'm right there with you, buddy. That's why we have as our number 1 and our pick to win another state title, Rob Black, Fulton Falcons. And I really like this pick. I'm real happy about this pick. Xavier Malone, quarterback there, 6'3", 198. We hit on him quite a bit, Lee. 26th ranked recruit in the state. I think with his leadership, along with Rob Black's ability to coach a team up, I like the Fulton Falcons to win the state title.
I do too, and big ball game for them is going to be on the 26th. They go to Oak Ridge. We had them at our 4 spot.
Yep, we did, and that'll be for the region,
That's
Lee.
That's going to be for the region.
In all likelihood.
I think so. But I like Fulton at the 1.
It's going to be good. It's going we see it year in and year out in this classification, and we're talking about Class 5A. The teams in the East are very, very good, and we see the same thing in Class 4A. It seems like 4 and 5A, and, of course, Maryville in 6A.
Well, you get your 3, 4, and 5. And then, of course, obviously you got your powerhouse, Maryville in 6.
Right.
But, hey, what was it, 3 or 4 years ago we went down there and everybody from the West won it.
Yeah. You never know, do you?
Ran the table.
You never know.
But in this, 5A, definitely.
Yeah, I think so. It's going to be a good year for 5A football over on the east side of the state, I think. All right, Lee Teat. Well, that is the Friday main event, Class 5A, region preview and top 10. We appreciate you guys tuning in and listening to what we've got for you. We got Class 6A coming tomorrow. That's going to be interesting. A lot of good ball teams. Class 6A, again, thank you to Coach T for supporting us here. And as always, Lee, we're going to leave you with the subscribe button. We appreciate it if you guys would hit the subscribe button. Help us out. Hit the little thumbs up down at the bottom of the video. Like the video. Subscribe. That's how YouTube tracks the most popular channels, and we want to continue to bring this type of programming to you. Give your kids exposure. Give your programs exposure, and by hitting that subscribe button, you're helping Lee and I stay on the air and keep doing this for you. All right, for Mike Molder, Lee Teat, we're out. We'll see you guys tomorrow with 6A.